Elon Musk was not born into fame. He was not a popular child. He was a boy with a mind full of stars. He was a boy with a heart full of questions. Growing up in Pretoria, South Africa, the world around him felt harsh and unforgiving. At school, he had few friends. He was small for his age. His intense focus on books, computers made him a target. He was often bullied, pushed around, made to feel like he did not belong. The physical fights were painful. The loneliness was a deeper ache. It was a feeling that followed him, a quiet shadow in a sun-drenched country. He felt alone. He felt different. The world did not seem to have a place for him. He sought refuge in the pages of science fiction, the glowing screens of early computers. There, he could build worlds. He could imagine futures. He could escape the difficult reality of his present. Life at home was also complicated, adding to his sense of isolation. At a young age, with a small suitcase and even smaller savings, he left home. He arrived in Canada, a stepping stone to his American dream. The air was colder, the culture was different. The loneliness he knew in South Africa followed him across the ocean, now amplified by the strangeness of a new land. He was an immigrant with no safety net. He had to learn new rules, navigate a new society, and find a way to survive. He worked a series of grueling, low-wage jobs to make ends meet. Each job was a lesson in humility and hard labor, a world away from the technological future he envisioned. He felt lost. He felt invisible. Many doors closed in his face. He enrolled in Queen's University. He then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. But he was always an outsider, a man in a hurry. While others socialized, he studied and planned. He knew his time was limited. His resources were scarce. He felt the immense weight of his own expectations on his shoulders. He slept little. He worked more. Years later, he and his brother started their first real company, Zip2. It was a digital city guide for newspapers, an idea ahead of its time. The work was endless and the nights were cold. With no money for an apartment and an office, they combined the two. They slept on a futon on the floor, taking turns. They showered at the local YMCA. They ate the cheapest food they could find, often from the same place every day. They worked until their eyes were sore and their bodies ached, fueled by cheap coffee and the sheer force of their will. It was a constant battle for legitimacy. They needed money to grow, but investors were skeptical. He would walk into meetings, a young, socially awkward engineer, and try to sell his grand vision. More often than not, investors said no. Banks closed their doors. Some established leaders dismissed him as another naive dreamer. He learned to listen to feedback, refine his pitch, and fix what was broken. Then came XCOM, which would later merge to become PayPal. The stakes were higher, competition fiercer, and a coup saw him ousted as CEO on his honeymoon. When PayPal was sold to eBay, a flood of money came. For the first time, he had real wealth, but comfort did not follow. The money was not an end goal, it was a tool, a means to pursue more audacious dreams. Soon after the PayPal sale, the darkest time of his life began to unfold. He poured over $100 million into two impossible dreams, SpaceX and Tesla. His personal life began to unravel. His first marriage collapsed. The divorce was public and painful. Money turned into a tightrope as rockets and cars burned cash at an astonishing rate. Soon, the PayPal fortune was gone. He borrowed from friends just to pay rent. His companies stood on shaky ground. Delays, technical problems, supplier issues. The global financial crisis hit. Credit froze. It was the worst time to run two cash-hungry startups. Friends doubted him. Critics doubted him. Many rooted for his failure. In public, he projected confidence. Inside, he stood in the eye of a hurricane. SpaceX launched Falcon 1 3 times. First spun out and fell. Second reached space but missed orbit. Third exploded with NASA satellites. Each failure was crushing. He told his team, "For my part, I will never give up." And I mean never. Tesla was hemorrhaging cash, days from missing payroll. Manufacturing proved a brutal teacher. The narrative said he flew too close to the sun. Critics wrote his obituary. Option A, walk away. Option B, push forward into greater darkness with a sliver of hope. Two companies on the brink, enough money for one last attempt. Yet, in that abyss, he did not quit. He chose to believe in his mission. He gathered the last of his personal funds. Save one company or risk losing both. He split the remaining money, SpaceX. He split the remaining money, Tesla. He slept on the factory floor, in conference rooms, pushing teams to move faster. They found a simple timing issue. First stage separation and second stage ignition needed adjustment. Fixes were implemented and tested. He listened and focused on details. There was no money for a fifth rocket. The fourth had to work. Then slowly, miraculously, the tide began to turn. On September 28, 2008, SpaceX launched the Falcon 1 for the fourth time. The rocket lifted off, a thin white needle against the blue sky. The team watched in tense silence. The first stage separated cleanly. The second stage ignited. The minutes stretched into an eternity. And then the call. The rocket had reached orbit. It was a quiet miracle. Cheers erupted. Tears flowed. This single success saved the company, the proof they needed. Days later, NASA awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. One success changed the story. Failure was not the end. Just as SpaceX found its footing, Tesla reached its own turning point in the final hours of 2008. He had put his last funds in, but it wasn't enough, until desperate last-minute calls convinced others. The round closed on Christmas Eve, saving Tesla from collapse. Slowly, the cars began to sell. Teams worked through the night, solving bottlenecks, improving quality. Factories turned into busy hives of activity. Following the Roadster, the Model S launched to critical acclaim, proving an electric car could be better, faster, more desirable than gasoline competitors. The ascent was not smooth, production hell, sleepless nights, but the trajectory was now undeniably upward. This story is not just about money or technology. It is about heart. A person held a vision so tightly he was willing to lose everything for it. He wanted to change the course of energy and space travel, to push humanity forward. He loved the mission more than comfort or security. That purpose was the engine, the guiding light through darkest hours. The lesson is simple. Do not quit. Your lowest point is not your ending. Hardship can forge a strength you did not know you had. Failure teaches lessons that success never can. Belief can carry you when money and support cannot. When your plans break, learn fast and build a new one. Let each small success become the fuel for the next step. Not a fairy tale, a testament to long nights, lost sleep, hard choices. It is proof that when you feel you have lost everything, you might be standing at the start of everything. Never quit. Believe in your vision. Your lowest point is not your ending. Elon Musk went from being broke, lonely, and on the edge of losing everything, to becoming one of the most influential innovators of our time. His story shows that failure is not the end. It's the beginning. Success belongs to those who keep going when others stop. Subscribe to Legendary Comeback for more real stories.